to pass it.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like Paul Guerrero to give a staff report on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Fidel. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and agency members. The item before you for consideration is the acquisition of property located at 12252 Harbor Boulevard, owned by Jerry L. Bowen and Sharon Bowen and Thomas D. Bowen. The subject property is approximately 45,340 square feet of improved land. The subject property is located on the east side of Harbor between Chapman and Twin Tree Avenue, located within the International West Master Plan area in the redevelopment project area. The subject property can be seen on your computer screen, indicated by the red ring and labeled as parcel 01 and 02. The subject property is adjacent to the Lynn property, in which the agency entered into an agreement in October of 2008. The general terms and conditions of the agreement are the following: a purchase price of $2,856,420, which is consistent with appraised value. The purchase will be funded with agency funds, and escrow will close within 90 days. At this time, staff recommends the following: 1, approve the acquisition of the subject property. 2, authorize the agency director and secretary to execute pertinent documents on behalf of the agency. 3, authorize the finance officer to draw a warrant in the amount of $2,856,420 when appropriate to do so. And 4, authorize the finance officer to fund $15,000 for closing costs and environmental testing. That concludes staff report, and staff is available to answer questions.
Any questions for staff? Go ahead, Mr. Patel. You said say something.
Yeah, the city attorney's reminding in closed session, we had brought forth an option to allow the director to waive a couple of the conditions regarding terminating the lease and providing quitclaim if it's determined that it's actually to our advantage to keep the lease in place.
Okay, if there's a motion, we'll try to include that in the motion. Do you two guys shop at the same store? You got identical ties on.
Made them themselves.
Agency issued.
Yeah. Okay, we don't seem to have a discussion here. Why don't we address a little bit of what went on tonight and what has been said tonight? Peggy brought it up. Why would you want to consider buying property in such a depressed time? Because that property comes up for sale in a depressed time, and that's when you take advantage of things. There's a tremendous amount of properties being sold, handled, bought right now. The real estate industry is booming. It's just booming at a much lower amount of money than it has in the past. People that do have money are out buying properties up as quick as they possibly can. And a lot of things are happening. Some people are strapped, so they're selling. Some people are into properties they never should have been in the first place, and they're having to take things called short sales. There's all kinds of dynamic things happening in our world. And one of the things that caused the depression of the late 20s and early 30s, and all during the 30s, was that people did exactly what Peggy's advising us to do. They didn't spend any money. Money wasn't moving. It wasn't happening. Now, I don't know that we ought to go out and spend all we've got, but if we have a piece of property that comes along that we have been looking at and that we could use to bring in more funds into the city coffers, and that has happened up and down Harbor Boulevard. Harbor Boulevard, when I first came on the city council, used to generate about $500,000 in bed taxes, or tenant occupancy tax is the proper term. Today it brings in about $13 million, and we're only getting about half of it. It's still going to grow. And that's what we're doing here. We're taking a look at a piece of property. It's up for sale, and now is the prime opportunity for us to buy it. And we would be making a mistake, in my opinion, not to procure this property tonight. So I would certainly entertain a motion to make this happen if it's possible to get one out of you guys.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Does your motion include the two items that he just mentioned about Mr. Kill?
Yes.
Yes. Second.
Okay, we got 2 seconds. That's good. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Matters from agency members and director. Anything, gentlemen?
I just like to add one comment to that is when you're talking about land deals and redevelopment deals, you got to broaden your perspective on the time horizon a little bit. It's hard to see the forest through the trees at a time like this. We're all seeing the bad news going on right now, right in front of us. However, there's some interesting dynamics, particularly with this stretch of Harbor Boulevard and its proximity to Disneyland. For one, the money being used to buy this property was already appropriated several years ago. It's sitting there already. We have it. We've got interested parties, and we've got Disney down the street who has already committed over $1 billion and is in process of renovating the California Adventure theme park, which originally opened kind of lackluster. They're trying to revamp that and do a remix of it and bring it back in 2012 for reopening. That means in 2012, if you can look past today's doom and gloom and stimulus packages and into an environment where there may be some renewed inflation, Disney's going to be spending a lot of dollars marketing the relaunch of that park. We'd like to have some more hotel rooms open at that time to take advantage of that. The multiplier effect of redevelopment activity is tremendous in terms of our recovery and getting out of this. So you can't freeze up and turn off the long-term programs because of short-term doom and gloom. So
I'd like to make one comment, too. One of the things is that, if you say, fine, things are going to get better, but you wait 3 years before you do anything, well, you're going to have to add 3 years onto that because that's the time it's going to take for the whole process to go and for the hotel to be built and all those things. So it is a time when you have to look at the area, you have to look at the potential, and you also look at the times, but it may be the time to strike. And I agree. I think that Harbor Boulevard is our key to financial success in this city, with hotels, with whatever we're able to develop there that attracts people to come there and spend money. And it creates jobs, it does all these things. But if we wait until times are good, we've lost 3 years. So again, as I said, just add 3 years on that end of it. And by that time, none of us will probably be on the council, but you'll have people saying, geez, why didn't they do this before? And we've got proven success with the hotels that are there now. I used to work that area when I was a police officer. I remember some of the sleazy motels and apartments, and it was a terrible area. I mean, you go down there now, you have about 10 hotels, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. That makes you proud to have people come into your city to stay in first-rate hotels, because that's what we have in Garden Grove, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So we're really actually planning a little bit ahead on doing this now. We're not adding 3 years to the other end of it.
I want to add one little bit. Notwithstanding the income that we're going to receive in the future, as Councilman Jones and the mayor have mentioned, one thing that was not mentioned in this is the lease that we're going to have that we're selling. It's going to generate about $180,000 a year. With the money allocated already to purchase this, that's realizing the city about 1.5% a year, and that's money that we never would have if we don't make this transition. And the transition not only bring us the 1.5 per year, it's also allow us to open up to other investors and call in more developers for the hotels that have been making our money. Peggy mentioned something about all the spending that we're doing. The spending that we're doing usually generate money in my eyes. That's when I go for the vote. And you do see those vehicles that we purchase. Well, compared to last year, that's about half of what we purchased. And it's not a new vehicle. It's a replacement vehicle because these vehicles been out in the fields for hundreds of emergency calls, and they do wear out, as opposed to someone's a consumer car that wouldn't have to be replaced so often every 3 years. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Call for the vote.
I thought we already did.
We had a second, we have a motion and a second. We had 2 seconds.
We already voted on it. That was under matters.
That
We were
was
just
all
talking
matters.
under
We already,
matters.
how'd it come out? Okay. Senior error. Okay, we're going to close the agency and then come back to you on March the 24th.
Okay, we'll reconvene the city council. Consent items.
Mr. Mayor, you have items 6A through 6